Growing up, English always felt like an elusive mystery to me, a language spoken in movies and on television, but distant from my everyday reality. My exposure to English was minimal at first, limited to sporadic interactions in school and a few borrowed books. Little did I know then that this language would become a key part of my life, connecting me to new cultures, people, and opportunities. I remember vividly the first time I tried to string together a full sentence in English. I was in class and my teacher had asked me to introduce myself. My heart pounded as I struggled to recall the words. "My name is," I started, and then my mind went blank. The awkward silence that followed was embarrassing, but it also ignited a spark in me. From that moment on, I promised myself that I would conquer this language. The early days of learning were filled with challenges. Grammar rules, vocabulary lists, and pronunciation exercises seemed like a never-ending mountain to climb. I often found myself confused by English's irregularities and exceptions, feeling lost in the sea of words that refused to make sense. But my determination was stronger than my frustration. I knew that the key to mastering the language lay in persistence. To accelerate my progress, I turned to the things I enjoyed most: movies, music, and books. I started watching English films with subtitles, pausing to repeat lines and mimic the actors. Music became a major ally, as I would listen to English songs, learning the lyrics by heart and singing along. Reading, though difficult at first, was the most rewarding. Each page I turned felt like a small victory. As my vocabulary expanded, so did my confidence. I began speaking more in class, volunteering for activities that involved English. There were many stumbles along the way, and I often made mistakes. But I realized that errors were a natural part of the learning process. Each misstep was an opportunity to grow, and I began to embrace the imperfections in my speech. One of the turning points in my journey came when I made a decision to immerse myself in English as much as possible. I joined an English-speaking group in my community where people of all levels would gather to practice. At first, I felt out of place among those who seemed far more fluent than me. But I soon realized that everyone there had been where I was, struggling, hesitant, and eager to improve. In that group, I made friends who encouraged me to speak freely, without fear of judgment. We would hold conversations on a variety of topics, from daily routines to global events. Slowly but surely, my spoken English improved. I no longer hesitated before speaking, and my thoughts began to flow more naturally in the language. A pivotal moment came when I decided to challenge myself by traveling. My first major trip was to the pyramids of Egypt. Immersed in a place where English was not the native language, I had to rely on it to communicate with travelers from all around the world. This trip made me realize that English was truly a global language, a bridge that connected me to diverse cultures and perspectives. With this new realization, I took more trips. I explored the Caribbean Sea, where English helped me bond with locals and other explorers. I traveled to Machu Picchu and found myself able to navigate the rich history of the place through English-speaking guides. Each journey strengthened my skills as I found myself conversing more comfortably with strangers and understanding different dialects and accents. One of the most awe-inspiring places I visited was the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. Standing at the top of the world, I marveled at how far I had come, not just geographically, but linguistically. English had opened so many doors for me, and it was during this trip that I realized I had achieved a level of fluency that once seemed impossible. Of course, there were still moments of self-doubt. I would sometimes hear a word or a phrase I didn't understand and feel like I was back at square one. But I had learned how to approach these moments with curiosity rather than frustration. Whenever I encountered something new, I would make it a point to look it up, understand it, and incorporate it into my vocabulary. One of the keys to my success was consistency. I made sure to practice English every day, even if it was just for a few minutes. I wrote in English, thought in English, and spoke in English as often as I could. Slowly, the language stopped feeling foreign and began to feel like a natural extension of myself. Another milestone in my journey was when I began helping others learn English. I volunteered as a tutor for beginners, sharing the tips and tricks I had learned along the way. Teaching others not only reinforced my own knowledge, but also gave me a deep sense of fulfillment. I saw my former self in those who struggled, and I wanted to show them that fluency was within their reach. Over time, English became more than just a language to me. It became a tool for self-expression. I started writing stories and essays in English, using it as a way to convey my thoughts and ideas to a global audience. The words flowed more easily now, and I found joy in crafting sentences that once seemed impossible to form. My career also benefited from my newfound fluency. I was able to access more opportunities, work with international colleagues, and collaborate on projects that required English proficiency. The language opened up professional doors that I never imagined I could walk through before. Despite my progress, I knew that the journey didn't end with fluency. English, like any skill, required constant refinement. I continued to challenge myself by reading more advanced literature, engaging in deeper conversations, and learning new idioms and phrases that would enrich my understanding of the language. One of the most rewarding aspects of learning English was the connections it allowed me to make. I had conversations with people from all over the world, shared stories, exchanged ideas, and learned about different cultures, all through this common language. English had become a medium through which I could explore the world without leaving my home. Looking back, I realized that my journey to fluency was not just about mastering a language. It was about perseverance, adaptability, and the willingness to step outside my comfort zone. Each challenge I faced along the way made me stronger, and each victory, no matter how small, brought me closer to my goal. Today, I can confidently say that I am fluent in English. But more importantly, I've gained a deeper appreciation for the process of learning itself. My journey taught me that fluency is not just about knowing all the words or speaking without mistakes. It's about communicating, understanding, and connecting. As I continue to use English in my travels, my career, and my personal life, I carry with me the lessons I've learned along the way. The journey to fluency was long and sometimes difficult, but it was also incredibly rewarding. And in many ways, it's a journey that never truly ends, as there is always more to learn, more to explore, and more to discover.